unknown parts of metropolitan New York City. I am the hip, and this is the lab.
Hello, good evening, everybody, or good morning, good afternoon, whenever you might be listening. Thank you for joining us. Of course, it is Hip and the Lip. A very, very busy, we're broadcasting on a Tuesday night, the very first week of May, as we have a few cool days coming up after the couple of hot days that we just had, the obligatory weather update, yes. And oh my God, so much going on. Oh my God, so much to digest, to go over, to discuss, to break down, analyze. Everything.
But most importantly, you get in there that weather update. So thank you very much, The Lip. Yes, we are a New York sports podcast, and we have a pseudo meteorologist on hand apparently as well. Thank you very much for that exciting, exhilarating metropolitan New York City weather update.
Lots of different hats.
Yeah, so like us on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, I think is the proper term. Like us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. We got a lot to get through tonight. The New York Rangers are in the midst of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Ottawa Senators. We'll get into their Tango, Zuccarello game so far. We're 3 games into the series. Been pretty interesting so far. We will touch on a little bit of other NHL playoffs. There's another good series, better series in the Eastern Conference. Of course, the NFL draft took place beginning last Thursday through the weekend. So how can we not touch upon how excited the Jets, yes, safety. They should swear all 7 rounds for safety. Yes, Jets, safety. Yes, because you need so many safeties because they're the most important position on the team. Only before kicker. I think that's more. Yeah. They should have went kicker, safety, but we'll save that for later.
The word safety is not a word to describe the jobs right now of either the GM or the head coach. But
okay. So then look, New York Mets, Noah Syndergaard. Whoopsie, 90 for 90. Goodbye.
Sorry, Met fans, no 90 for you.
And look, we'll touch upon the NBA playoffs. I'm not particularly excited about them really yet.
Because we're waiting for LeBron's versus the superstars in Golden State.
I guess so, as we continue saying, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And, so that's our show. So let's get right to it. The New York Rangers, treading water here, down 2-0 going into tonight. And you said it to me perfectly right before the show started, a pretty rocking chair game tonight for the Rangers to come within 1. Now it's a 2-1 series. But let's take a step back. The first 2 games in Ottawa, Rangers losing both. The first one, a 2-1 loss. The second game, it was a scoring bonanza, 6-5 double overtime loss for the Rangers, where the Rangers were up 5-3.
Brutal
with
loss.
Less than Terrible. 3 minutes to go.
Terrible loss.
So to lose that game, which you could have stole on the road, coming up short, and they salvage. They salvage a bit here at home tonight, and then they have, game 4 on Thursday night at MSG.
Indeed.
So, Lip, what's your initial, watching these first few games? We talked in depth about Carlson, the great defenseman on Ottawa. He did have the game-winning goal.
Rough game tonight.
Ridiculous game-winning goal in game 1. Beyond ridiculous goal. So, you talked about Carlson, you talked about the certain range of players who need to step up. So, what's your temperature of the situation right now?
Well, we're on the heels of a Ranger victory. Like you said, it was a pretty easy game for the Rangers. They were in control from start to finish tonight. So they got the series stabilized, back under control. Now they're right back in the series at 2-1. They got game 4 on Thursday, as you alluded to. Game 1, it was just really kind of like a feeling out, getting to know your opponent, your dance partner type of game. A lot of times in playoffs,
you can speak from experience.
Of course, absolutely.
Feeling out those dance partners.
Of course, you go, who the hell are you? Like, just kind of stay away from me. We'll dance at a distance. Well, that's what they did. They danced at a distance. The Rangers.
That's what you're normally saying, right? Who the hell are you? Right? That's backing off. Yes.
Exactly. I'm blind and deaf when I go in, so I can't hear anything either. What? So, it was just kind of a game that really didn't have too much in terms of intensity, not really too much physicality. Ottawa had a lot of power plays. They had a lot of shots on Henrik Lundqvist. Lundqvist had a great game. I mean, he had a tremendous game in game one. Yeah, the game-winning goal. I mean, Ranger fans are probably saying, oh, really? That's the game-winning goal? A goal from a sharp angle? Yeah, it was Karlsson, fine, but I mean, you should have had it, right? Well, I mean, did Lundqvist establish perfect position there? No. Should he have known that Karlsson likes to shoot the puck from everywhere? He should have. You have to do your homework, your due diligence. He didn't, apparently. But
I mean, does Karlsson take a lot of shots from that angle? He was behind
from everywhere. They documented.
What is that line? What is that line called that goes? You know,
the goal line.
Yeah, the goal line. He wasn't he behind it?
No. I mean, he was kind of like straddling. I mean, it was
still, that's crazy.
It's a tough goal. It is. It's a tough goal to lose on, especially late in the third period. It scores 1-1. Like, all right, we'll go to overtime. We didn't play our best game. Maybe we can steal one here. To lose it like that, it's tough. I heard Ranger fans the next day, oh, my God, Henrik, what's the matter with you? How do you let that in? I don't care that you played so well. You're not a big game goalie. The murmurs about Henrik and his inability to rise in big games are coming up again from the Ranger contingent. But it's a tough goal, but I'm not going to completely crucify him for it. Just, again, it was a perfectly placed shot by Karlsson. He shoots from everywhere. And
he shot it off of Lundqvist's back and in. It wasn't even right on the net.
I mean, it was a near impossible angle, and it was just.
Do you think Karlsson intended to do that? He intended to shoot it off of Lundqvist's back and in.
I mean, in terms of that, like, was he trying to bank it off of him? Maybe not, but I mean, he was trying to place it there. He was looking to score a goal. It wasn't just,
that looked pretty intense. Yeah, I mean, he was trying to put it in the vicinity of the net.
Yeah, he was trying to score. It wasn't just, I'm going to try and just get it to the net. Maybe something will happen. No. Karlsson, his intent there was I'm going to try and shoot this past the goalie. I see an opening. I see a crevice. I'm going to try and hit it. World-class players can do it. He did it. Great. It was a tremendous goal. Great goal. A tough goal from a Ranger perspective, but nonetheless a great goal by a phenomenal player who has definitely had his impact on this series so far. Yep. So tough loss for the Rangers in game one. Game two was a wacky game. I mean, you talk about just a back and forth game. 3 2-goal leads blown by the Rangers. I mean, they had a sloppy first period. They controlled play for really the rest of the game. They were the better team. They had a lot of chances. They scored a couple shorthanded goals. It was just weird the way the game unfolded because Ottawa came right back after the Rangers scored to make it 3-1. They come right back on it with the 4-on-4 goal to make it 3-2. Bad play by Nick Holden there, basically leaving his man Mark Mathot. I think he had I don't even know if he scored a goal this year. I mean, he's a very light scoring defenseman, we'll say. And then, of course, at 5-3, I mean, you're thinking the game's over. There's a few minutes left in the game, 3 minutes, whatever it is. People are starting to exit the building in Ottawa. And then, they score 2 goals off of deflections by J.G. Pageau, a guy that everybody, I'm sure, was saying, who? J.G. Pageau? Yes, J.G. Pageau, a natural hat trick to bury the Rangers in game 2. Scored the last 3 goals of the game, scores 4 goals in the game. He had 12 all year. This year, I mean, he's not exactly known as a prolific goal scorer. In this game, he was. The game tying goal, I put on Dan Girardi. He did a bad job defending him. He let him get away. It was a little bit of an off-angle shot. Karlsson found Kyle Turris, who put a good shot towards the net. Pageau is able to deflect it past Lundqvist. I mean, Lundqvist could have. He wasn't screened on that one. The fourth goal, he was screened. He couldn't do anything about. The fifth one, he definitely saw the shot. He saw the puck. It was deflected, but could he have had it? Maybe if he, positioned himself better, reacted, whatever. It's tough to get on him, though. Bottom line, the Rangers should never have let that game get to that they kind of relaxed. They took their foot off the pedal, if you will, the last few minutes of the game, and they allowed Ottawa just to generate chance after chance. And, they were able to put a couple past them, and overtime was pretty crazy back and forth. Chances at both ends. Rick Nash, you heard him say, I've replayed the play in my head 1,000 times, had an open net. And out of position, Craig Anderson. Nash had a open net with the puck on his stick right at the goal line. Here comes Kyle Turris to deflect the puck away, comes with his stick, makes a tremendous defensive play, and Rick Nash is just left scratching his head and looking towards the ceiling or the heavens, wondering how he did not put that in the net. Second overtime, J.G. Pageau off of a bad play by Nick Holden. Again, you hear that name. Holden makes a bad read. He makes a bad play to try and pinch in the offensive zone. I mean, it's not a bad play if you execute it. He just did not do a good job executing the pinch. It was a bad read all around. And back they come 2-on-1. Pajot is able to bury his shot past Lundqvist, glove side, brilliant, great shot. Just snapped it past Lundqvist. Couldn't react with the glove fast enough. Game over. Good night, the light. Go home. Back to New York. Rangers in Ottawa, and a tough loss a brutal loss, terrible loss for the Rangers. But we know what the outcome of Game 3 was. They were able to come out on home ice tonight. They get the victory. Really, just a easy game for them. I mean, again, not easy, but they were in control the whole game. They stabilized the series. They're back in the series.
They didn't take the foot off the gas pedal tonight.
No, they did not. No, really
why they did apparently Game 1 when you're Game 2 when you're down 1-0. If it's bad coaching, if it's just psychologically, whatever. But clearly, if you're a Ranger fan tonight, you didn't really feel worried at any point in this game after they scored the first goal. It wasn't even like Ottawa had any good many good chances.
Not a big push. No, I mean there was just
nothing. It wasn't like they were getting chance after chance, Ottawa, on the offensive attack. That was pretty much non-existent tonight from Ottawa.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was. I mean, there was really no push at all. I didn't like the lineup change of Tanner Glass for Pavel Buchnevich. I mean, and there was a lot of criticism.
Breaking news.
Yeah, it's breaking news. Yes, Alain Vigneault, the head coach of the Rangers, got a lot of criticism in different parts for his lineup, or at least his allotment of his allocation of ice time towards certain players. And a lot of coaches, and you'll see this in all sports, coaches, they get comfortable with their veteran players. They say, you know what, I just don't trust my young guys. I just, in key moments, big spots, end of the game, I'm not comfortable putting them out there, so I'm going to limit their minutes. He did that with Pavel Buchnevich. Buchnevich didn't play a bad game, either of the first 2 games. I highlighted him for making a great defensive play in Game 5 against Montreal. It's just, he just didn't feel comfortable playing him. You also saw Brady Shea and Brendan Smith, for whatever ill-conceived reason, riding the pine for a good portion of most of the third period and parts of overtime. And he basically said, at least for the third period, I just didn't rotate Smith in there. I don't know. He kind of got lost, which is kind of a ridiculous statement. Like, you're the head coach. You're supposed to oversee your bench, your players. You are the one that makes the final call, the final decision, who's on the ice. So that is just a ridiculous comment. I don't know what the hell he was going through his mind there, but took criticism for it. And it was really well-earned criticism, because Smith and Shea, I thought, had played well. Holden and Stahl, I think right now, are their weakest defensive combo. I don't think Holden's playing badly, but he made a couple bad plays in Game 2, played okay tonight, played better tonight. And Brendan Smith, I think, overall has played well. I think he's actually been very good for the Rangers, really the majority of this postseason. So, bad coaching by Alain Vigneault there. I don't like the Tanner Glass decision, but, Glass did okay. He tripped up Dion Phaneuf on the Rangers. Was it like third goal or fourth goal? I guess it was. He pretty much sets a pick on Dion Phaneuf, kind of trips him up. It probably should have been a penalty. I couldn't really tell if Phaneuf embellished there, which he likes to do. I have there's no love lost between myself and Dion Phaneuf. I can't stand him. But Tanner Glass, it looked like he tripped them up. That was on the Rangers' 4th goal by Oscar Lindberg. JT Miller makes a nice play there. And again, just tonight, really start to finish, Rangers controlled the whole game. Lundqvist didn't have to make a lot of big saves, and they really got themselves back in this series in a big way. Game 4 Thursday night, and I will say Ottawa's defensive zone coverage in this game was atrocious. I mean, that first goal, they were all just caught looking. The second goal, there was a misplay by Anderson, but more of the same from Ottawa. Their defensive zone coverage has to be cleaned up. Otherwise, the Rangers are going to win Game 4, and then we'll see how the rest of the series goes. Right now, tonight it was terrible. It stunk. But again,
stunk like a big night of bitter hipster beers for the lip.
Fermenting on the radiator, those bitter hipster beers. Yes, that's exactly what we saw from the Ottawa Senators in their play tonight. Yeah, Rangers really it was Ranger from start to finish. Very little Ottawa.
All right, well, there's it feels like a series again with the Rangers now getting that W. They blew Game 2. They got their game back tonight and back at MSG for Game 4 where they try to even it up. And there's another series that is close again. The other series in the Eastern Conference, the Capitals and the Penguins, started 2-0. Yeah, the Caps dropping games 1 and 2, and then going to Pittsburgh for game 3, and the Capitals squeak it out. I turned the game off. It was 3-1. I should have learned my lesson from game 2 in the Rangers series. I turned the game off with about 4 minutes left. I don't know. I got distracted on something else, some other sporting
Mets game. That's scintillating end of the Mets games.
Exactly.
Eric Thames. Maybe it was Eric Thames that distracted.
Yeah, there's always an Eric Thames distraction. The home run watch.
Oh, he's up. Did he hit a home run tonight?
Nah, as far as I know, no, I don't think they scored at all. So he's slowed
Eric
down
Thames
a bit.
Update. He's still at 11. Everybody, just in case you're wondering, he's still at 11.
So I turn it off, and then I go back, and I'm like, oh, whoops, this game is in overtime. So Washington relinquishing a 2-goal lead late.
They did.
And pulling it out in overtime to make it a 2-1 series as well. And announcing today the Pittsburgh Penguins is Sidney Crosby is not playing game 4. So that's a huge loss for Pittsburgh.
Did you see the hit? Did you see the play when he?
I did not see the hit. No.
Okay, so
tell us about the hit.
I mean, it was early in the game. There's no love lost between Washington and Pittsburgh. We've talked about they're the 2 best teams, right? Right now, they're the 2 best teams in the NHL. Forget about the Eastern Conference. They're the 2 best teams in the NHL, and they're playing in the second round. So just try and go figure that. But no love lost between these teams. We know about the rivalry, between Crosby and Ovechkin, which is a lot of it's manufactured by the league and the media. We have the 2 best players. We like to pit them against each other, but they don't care for each other. We know that. They played a 6-game series last year that Washington lost, and then Washington comes back again this year with the President's Trophy. And can they finally slay the dragon and finally, just exorcise the demons that are the Pittsburgh Penguins? Well, first 2 games, as you mentioned, at home, didn't go well. Played badly in game 2, get blown out in game 2, come back for game 3, and then there's a play involving Sidney Crosby and his former teammate, Matt Niskanen. Now, Crosby's going hard to the net, and he takes a slash from Alex Ovechkin. It's like at his shoulder, high slash at his shoulder, and he then gets kind of clipped on the head by Ovechkin. No penalty on that, which very well could have been and probably should have been. Not probably, should have been. Down goes Crosby. He's falling. Matt Niskanen has his stick raised in the air and kind of cross-checks Crosby in the head. And Crosby, immediately goes down. He's motionless on the ice for a few seconds. And, everybody in Pittsburgh, collectively holds their breath as they see their superstar center on the ice. And then, of course, Niskanen gets a 5-minute major, game misconduct. And then, of course, was it intentional? Was that the plan all along? Was Washington looking to get Crosby out of this series? And, all the speculation from those in Pittsburgh. I'll be honest, I don't think it was the most malicious thing I've ever seen. Was it a penalty? Yes. Did he deserve a game misconduct? Borderline. He should not have been suspended. I agree with the league not suspending him there. It was just one of those kind of fluky plays where, he has his stick up in the air. Was he looking to cross-check him there? Maybe. He did bring his arms forward, but I don't think he was looking to cross-check him in the head. But nevertheless, Crosby's out, at least for game 4. He didn't play the rest of game 3, diagnosed with a concussion.
And that was in the first period.
Early in the game.
So Crosby missed the last 2 periods of the game. Pittsburgh still almost won. But now he's out for game 4. That's just a huge blow. So, this look, Pittsburgh, you want the best players on the ice when you're watching these series.
It stinks that he's on it.
I mean, it's just
it makes it better. It makes it more fun. I agree.
No, I guess if you're a Washington fan, I would. If I'm a Washington fan, I would still want Crosby out there because you want to beat. You want to beat the defending champs,
guys, right? You want to beat him. You want to beat him. I mean, that's the goal, is to beat him. Not to injure him and take him out of the series. You want to beat him, and I can tell you right now. I mean, you just saw the intensity in that game ratchet up. You saw multiple scrums. You saw Malkin. I mean, Malkin looked like a man possessed last night. After Crosby went out, scores the goal to make it 2-1. And actually, I guess there was an incident after the game involving a Pittsburgh writer, I guess he writes for the Post-Gazette, whatever paper in Pittsburgh he writes for, was kind of challenging the Washington head coach Barry Trotz with questions about the Crosby hit, and then Trotz went back at him like, what about the hit on this guy? What about the hit on Oshie and Backstrom? So you could just tell like that was getting a little intense there between those two guys. And I mean, again, no love lost between these teams. They don't like each other. You have a few former Pittsburgh Penguins on Washington, one of them being Niskanen, who laid the hit on Crosby. So, this is right now, if you're in an NHL fan, or even the casual fan, if you're a casual fan, if you're a diehard fan, you're watching. If you're a casual fan, turn on your TV for this series. The other series, look, if you're into it, you watch it. This series, though, this is must-see TV right now. Game 4 is going to be must-see TV. And I'm sure Pittsburgh, while they can't be out for blood because they're trying to win a series, you can tell, that'll be in the back of their minds.
7:30 Wednesday night. You're probably listening on Wednesday, so that is going to be Doc Emmerich at the call with a score.
Oh, I love Doc. And then he ends the game with 3 games and 3 silent arenas at the end of the night. He is the best. He is the best. I love him. He's awesome. He's amazing. I know. He's the best, though. He is just his poetic way that, the way he presents the narrative for a game or a series. He just lays it out there. It's like poetry.
I mean, really his play-by-play is pretty damn on point too.
Oh my God,
that is pretty impeccable.
Oh God. I mean, his vocabulary. Right now, I would put his vocabulary against anybody else on the planet. I mean, the list of adjectives that he comes up with, and the way he turns verbs into like adverbs, and just. All
right. Let's move on here. So, let's cover the NFL draft for a few minutes. It started, I think with a big surprise at number 2 with the Bears trading up one spot to take Trubisky. I don't know if anybody really saw this coming. Trading up to take a quarterback at number 2 who apparently didn't know what a hard count was like a month ago. So you have that, and I mean, I was kind of relieved when I saw that as a Jets fan. I'm like, at least this takes off the table any potential temptation for the Jets to take this guy at 6.
You were dying for Mitchell Trubisky to be in a Jet jersey next year.
Oh my God, to be the first round pick for the Jets, that would have just been, anybody else really. So they take the safety, who apparently is like the safest pick in the draft, but it's a safety, and look, they went safety again. I mean,
typical.
When you have so many needs and you need to rebuild to take this, to address the same position in the first 2 rounds, just seemed a little over the top.
I mean, Calvin Pryor
a little
fine, but
what are you going for?
I mean, they get lauded for that Adams pick. Like, everybody is what a great pick.
Okay.
He's one of the best, if not the best player in the draft.
It was okay.
It was positive all around. But
yes, that one okay, but doubling down, and then what the hell? What was going on there? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
I don't even know the guy's name. It doesn't even matter. I don't think. I'm sorry to whoever he is. It's not his fault, but just strategically, it's puzzling. We'll see. I don't know. They took a couple of receivers. This is
back-to-back safeties and then back-to-back receivers for the Jets, right? I think that's
just an odd. It's seemingly first 4 rounds to proceed with a team with a lot of holes
everywhere. I mean, what position don't they need?
Right. So it at the same time, it's like, well, they could take any position. It really doesn't matter. But to take duplicates twice consecutively.
Like, you know what? Look, was loading the pick. It's a good pick, really good pick.
But you know what? Look, at the same time, just to be a little bit humble about this, we don't scout these guys. Oh, look, I can't speak for you. Maybe you do. We don't scout these guys. We don't know the first. About it. Exactly. So, you know what? We're just a couple of guys on a surface level. Judgment, which we're entitled to do because it's fun and because I like to make fun of the Jets and people asking me if they should get, if they should buy tickets now, buy StubHub, and I'm like, no, they should wait until like week 3 when the fans don't care anymore, unfortunately, for the season, because it's going to be that type of year for the Jets.
Get your $10 tickets on StubHub.
Right, and so let's shift to the Giants now, who are trying to be a win now team, I think, unlike the Jets. And they go tight end first round. And, I didn't know much about this guy, and they show the highlights right away. And it's like, all right, this dude's really a wide receiver.
He's a glorified wide receiver. Yeah, I agree. He's a glorified wide receiver. I mean, of course, the Giants have to be unconventional also. And, Reese has a little bit of that in him, trying to go, going against the grain, or, like everybody thinks the Giants are going to do one thing and then they do. So, I mean, everybody thought the Giants were going to take a tight end in the first round, or at least high in the draft, whether it be first, second, whatever. And after Howard, the tight end from Alabama, dropped, I mean, you would have said, all right, you know what? How about you trade up for him? I mean, everybody thought he was going to go in the top 10. He rose up he shot the draft boards, but that's why the mock drafts are so ridiculous. I mean, the mock drafts are the stupid. Like, it's just, they're just so stupid. Like, I mean, like, honestly, like, who had the most accurate mock draft? Like, what was it? Like, you hit 40% of your picks, right? I mean, like, oh, wow, you were the best. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, Ingram, I don't know much about him. Guy obviously looks like he can be a matchup nightmare because of how big and fast he is. Will he make an impact this year? I would hope so. I mean, if you take a guy in the first round for a team that you think is going to contend for a Super Bowl, you better be looking to get him involved in the offense early on, and he should have a role in this offense this year. I mean, of course, the pick that everybody was talking about was, did the Giants get their quarterback of the future in the third round in Davis Webb? That's what was on everybody's mind after the draft. Is this the guy to supplant Eli Manning when his career with the Giants is over?
Well, why? I mean, why else would you draft him? I mean, what other intention would there be? I mean, that has to be a thought. Although, if that wasn't a possibility in the GM's mind, then you wouldn't draft him. So they're taking him to explore that possibility. Sure.
Interestingly, they've actually, and everybody, you forget, I forgot too, actually, the Giants have taken 4 quarterbacks in the Eli Manning era. Now, one of them was an undrafted free agent, the hefty lefty, if you remember, like the 300-pound quarterback, Jared Lorenzen. But they've taken 3 quarterbacks in the last.
All right, let me see if I could think of them. So Ryan Nassib.
Yep, that's one. The other 2 I forgot. I had completely forgotten about.
You forgot? So if you forgot, what are the odds that I remember who they were?
I'd be very impressed if you got one of them. One of them, I'd be very impressed.
Is any of them within the last 6 years?
Yeah. I think like 2000 they might have went back to back, like 08, 09 or 09.
Did either of them ever make a start in the NFL?
No.
Just please spare us the extra minute of me thinking about it and getting nowhere.
Like I said, I'd be extremely impressed. It was Andre Woodson and Rhett Bomar or something, I think so. Rhett Bomar, and then Ryan Nassib, as you said. So those were the 3 guys that were taken. And then, of course, when those guys were taken, nobody for a second thought like, oh, these guys, who's going to supplant Eli Manning? Who's going to be who's a threat to his job? Well, now you finally have a guy that people are going to be writing about, talking about. Is this the guy? But here's my take, though. And Ben McAdoo, the head coach of the Giants, has gone out of his way multiple times to tweak Eli Manning. And you really wonder if, in Ben McAdoo's mind, the Eli Manning era is going to come to an end much sooner rather than later. That's my question, because they have a head coach right now. This is not a guy that is like on a tryout. Okay, maybe he'll be gone in a year or 2, or these coaches now, they get hired, they're bad for a couple of years and they get fired. This guy is going to be here for a while. You know that. The Giants don't hire guys to give them a year or 2, and if they don't perform, their team doesn't play well, they get fired. This guy is going to be here, you figure, for a decade, maybe less, but maybe more. But he's in it for the long haul. Ben McAdoo, I can guarantee you, had input into this decision, and I truly feel that in his mind, the Eli Manning era could be potentially coming into an end in the next couple of years. Not 5, 6, whatever Eli Manning has in his mind right now. I think Ben McAdoo thinks that the Eli Manning era is coming to an end much sooner rather than later, and that he had a big hand in taking this guy and saying, "This is the guy I want for my offense."
Well,
after Eli Manning,
he thinks that it's more than remotely possible that it will happen. That Eli's skills are going to deteriorate or not deteriorate to the point that they need to make a change within the next couple of years. I don't think that's an unreasonable position. It's not like Eli's been so amazing the last couple of years that you don't have any question. Look, this is not Tom Brady here, who this seems to be ageless. Eli is, he can't really move in the pocket. He can't. I mean, there's not much. I don't know. I wouldn't surprise me for him to fall off the cliff in a couple of years. sad
I mean,
to
he
say.
had a rough year this past year. He did not. 2 years ago, he played really well. The first year in McAdoo's system, or when McAdoo was the offensive coordinator, so what was it, second year in the system? But 2 years ago, he played really well. Last year, he didn't play very well.
How old is he right now? 35, 36?
Yeah, something like that. At least 35. Maybe he'll be 36 by the time the season starts or something. But
I mean, so it's about that time.
No, of course not. I agree. I mean, but quarterback now. I mean, it's like you said. I mean, yes, Brady is an aberration, but his brother did play until he was 39. I mean, he was terrible his last year, even though he walked off into the sunset. But no, it's not unfair at all, and it's not unreasonable to think that Eli Manning, you have to start planning for the future. And you heard Reese in an interview say, if there was a guy that we didn't love, were we going to take him? No, but if there was a guy there that we really liked and we thought we can get good value, we were going to take a quarterback, and that's what they did. Apparently they liked this guy. He's big. He has a big arm, and they call him an intelligent quarterback. A Cal quarterback as well. Aaron Rodgers was a Cal quarterback too, and Aaron Rodgers was under Ben McAdoo, so maybe Aaron Rodgers signed off on him for his old buddy Ben.
I'm sure he did.
But no offensive lineman, one offensive lineman, and then a couple undrafted free agent offensive linemen for the Giants. So that was the other theme, the lack of offensive linemen early on. So they, I guess, feel that they're going to be going into the season with Eric Flowers as their left tackle unless they find someone in the garbage dump somewhere that can still play.
So somebody, just shifting gears a little bit, somebody mentioned today to me that Jamal Charles signed with the Denver Broncos. And you're like, isn't that surprising? I'm like, you know what? We're at a point now where pretty much every team is running back by committee. We're pretty much at that point in the NFL. Yeah, like I can't. The only team that I could think of, and you're going to find an exception and mention it, please. But offhand, Ezekiel Elliott was he the only true workhorse back last year? Like, did anybody have more carries than him last year? Did anybody come close? I didn't check.
He led the league in rushing. I mean, that I know. And he led the league in rushing. I mean,
can you think offhand of any other running backs who were like true bell cows from start to finish last year?
Nah.
Besides him?
Maybe it is. I don't. Nobody off the top of my head. No.
You can't even think of it off the top of your head, right? There might have been a guy or two that would be if he stayed healthy. Lamar Miller, okay.
It's just
exactly.
I don't know. It's just the running backs have been devalued. I mean, you're not pounding a guy 20, 25 times, running out of
So people make a story out of nothing when a team takes a high draft pick on a guy with a team with an already established running back, like the guy Fortunette from LSU.
He's an old school running back. You're gonna.
He went to Jacksonville. Took him. They say, oh well, if TJ Yeldon, I mean, come on. This is not.
He'll probably be gone by the time he starts. He's terrible.
This is a league now. Like you think about fantasy football and stuff. This is a running back by committee league now. There's just no
versatility, explosiveness. That's what you look for. Now look at the Falcons. I mean, look at those two guys. How they achieved last year what all teams should strive to achieve. Absolutely.
Week in and week out. I mean, look, neither of their running backs are like true like LeGarrette Blount, like lower your shoulder and just wear a defense down. So I mean, maybe part of it, the team, maybe some teams still want that element, but besides that, it's really the 1A, 1B, how the Atlanta Falcons deployed it last year with Freeman and Coleman. That is ideal.
You look for guys that can do everything, that can block, that can catch passes out of the backfield, that have explosiveness, that can run between the tackles too. I mean, you're looking for guys that can do it all, but you're not going to be giving those guys 25, 30 touches. You're going to be giving them 15 to 20, if that, other guys less. I mean, Adrian Peterson didn't sign with anybody until a week ago. Why? Because he's not the type of guy that teams are looking for anymore. He is your traditional old school workhorse back. But teams don't want that guy anymore. Now they're looking for versatility. That's the word. That is the theme for NFL running backs and offenses. Guys that you can stick anywhere and they can play, make plays for you.
So look, let's shift back to baseball because that's like.
Well, how about just one more comment? How about your 11 Wolverines? 11 Wolverines. I had to get that in there. Come on.
That's a lot. And Jabril Peppers, who had a diluted sample, fell in the first round.
Brownies.
Went to the Browns. A player that just had an incredible college career, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's utilized as an NFL player because he's so dynamic. So, and how those skills translate to the NFL, where they, from college, will be interesting.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of this draft, but I mean, it is such a spectacle now, the draft. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the Colts actually, I had to get this in there too. The Colts actually had an orangutan make their 4th round pick for them. I kid you not. They cut to the Indianapolis Zoo during the 4th round and say, "Oh, the Colts have an orangutan making their 4th pick, the 4th round pick. Let's see who it is." And the orangutan hits like a computer screen and the name shows up there. Oh, look at that! I mean, it is such a spectacle. I mean, you just guys are
Look,
here.
I mean, it's a live event. That's what people are tuning into now. ESPN just laid off 100 on-air personalities, guys like Jason Stark.
Yeah, they are taking a bath. They are taking a bath.
The list goes on. Ed Werder, a big NFL reporter, he's gone. Yep. There's plenty of notables, I'm sure, that I'm just not thinking of. And so, the ESPN has to really maximize these live events, because that's really when people are turning on the television. They're not really watching SportsCenter. I mean, it's just not the same anymore. When we were younger and there was, the Yankee games on the West Coast, and the Newsday the next morning was printed before the game ended, so you didn't get the score. The only way to find out was to watch SportsCenter the next morning. Nowadays, it's all instant, and you don't need to watch. I mean, you don't need to watch these highlight shows.
Yep. Now you can get your sports
it's just
everywhere,
who cares?
Everywhere, however you want.
At any point.
ESPN,
So they have to work that much harder on making something out of nothing sometimes for these live events, like the NFL draft.
Yeah, and they're not going to.
I don't really know what else they could do.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's a good point. That's a big part of it, absolutely. But it's just, it just becomes such a ridiculous spectacle. And of course, how many players you hear about, oh, this guy's off the field issue. That guy did this guy punched the girl. This guy drug test. This guy. I mean, how many guys did we hear about that had all the off the field issues, and that's why they dropped it. Just unbelievable. Oh my God. And I'm not. And look, is that the NFL? I mean, we've railed against the NFL, against Goodell for their policies and the way that they approach these issues. But I mean, guys coming into the league, obviously, you can't blame on the NFL yet. But it's I don't know. I don't know what it's a testament to. If it's an indictment of the colleges, that system, the student athlete system. I don't know. I don't know what it is. You can get into a whole thing as to what the reason for this is, but I never remembered any draft that featured so many kids that were devalued on the draft boards because of off the field issues. It just seemed like there was just an exorbitant amount this year. I don't know what you thought, if you noticed that too, but I was just shocked by it. Whatever.
Because one player's loss is another's gain, and so it's just the shifting of some guys moving up a little and other guys dropping. I don't know.
Yeah, look,
and how much of it is speculation?
How fitting is it that the Cincinnati Bengals take the guy that everybody knows did it? Joe Mixon, the running back, what was it, from Oklahoma, there's a video of him punching a woman in a restaurant or something. So of course it's fitting that the Cincinnati Bengals are the team that picks him. I mean, it's just that they're just completely reinforcing the idea that they are just a breeding ground for these malcontents. And, if there was one team that should have stayed away from him, I don't care how talented you think he is, how good a value you're getting. They were the one team. I mean, any team that took him would have been criticized, but it's just fitting that it was the Bengals. Whatever. You know what? You hope that these kids, they right the ship, that they learn their lessons, I guess. But the NFL again needs to take a harder stand against this, as we've talked about. But that's a separate topic for another day. All right.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to some baseball. So, how can we not go right at the New York Mets? I alluded to it at the beginning of the show. 90 for 90 goodbye, referring to the Lips, approach to the Mets season. If you get 90 starts out of DeGrom, Syndergaard, and Harvey, then the Mets will get to 90 wins. Well, that's pretty much impossible now because Noah Syndergaard has a partial tear of his lat muscle, which will pretty much keep him out of live games for 2 months. Now, it's not just the fact that he sustained this injury, which is devastating, but it's the circus that surrounded the situation leading up to the injury and afterwards that was just, just put such a horrible negative spotlight on this organization as a whole. Going from Syndergaard having to get pushed back 2 days because he had, this was pre-torn lat muscle, because he had biceps, something with I don't want to say it was a strained bicep. He had a sore biceps, and he couldn't lift his arm above his shoulder. That was the initial word. And they're going to push him back. And what happened was, apparently, Matt Harvey took his place on the day that Syndergaard was scratched earlier this week. But Matt Harvey wasn't informed until 10 a.m. the morning of the game that Syndergaard was scratched. Now, Harvey apparently worked out really, really hard the night before or the day before, not knowing he was going to start the next day. And so apparently he was sore and he was not himself when he pitched.
He was terrible. Oh, he was in that game.
He was bad. And that came out that he wasn't, it was part of like his excuse, if you will. Not that he should be.
And he made sure to make the excuse for himself. He made sure. Look, was it a tough spot for him? Yeah, but you know what? Don't make excuses. Take the ball. If you get hit, just say, hey, look, I didn't pitch well today. It's that simple. But of course, he had to make sure to make excuses for himself.
Sure. So then they trot. Look, apparently, Sandy Alderson. This is before Syndergaard actually started on Sunday, which we'll get to in a minute. Sandy Alderson, the GM, said that we can't force him into the tube, meaning Syndergaard.
The MRI tube.
What is going on here? Like, if this guy had some kind of arm issue, how could you not give him an MRI, given last year he had the bone spurs in his elbow that he pitched
He
through?
said he didn't want it. He refused. That's
But maybe the Mets should have not let him take the mound.
Well, that was the thing that they could have done. They could have said, you're not pitching. You're now on the DL, and sorry.
The Mets should have realized, look, it's easy to say it after the fact. The damage is done. But to say to him, look, we don't know how risky this is putting you on the mound. Based on just what you're telling us, we can't see what's actually going on inside your body. So we're not going to put you out there because you may be subject to aggravation or injuring yourself otherwise. Nope, didn't happen. They put him out there, and not only does he tear his lat muscle, but the Washington Nationals go on to score 23 runs in the game. Anthony Rendon with the game of the decade. On probably most fantasy team benches like mine, unfortunately. How painful is that?
Too. I was laughing.
Just painful. But look, you know what? Like, nobody cares about my fantasy team. I get it. We're going to say it every week. Thing is, he was facing Syndergaard. I mean, like compared to other options, it wasn't like, you hope that the process plays out in the long run. That time, it didn't. To suck it up and move on, right?
Yes, all right.
Anyway, 6 for 6, 10 RBIs, 3 home runs. Just a ridiculous game. Garrett Anderson, the last guy to have 10 RBIs in a game. I think it was 2007.
Garrett Anderson.
Yep. So look, I mean, he's out 2 months and
minimum
maybe more. Probably more. I mean, it's a critical part of the upper body to pitch. It's not his arm, but I mean, it's subject to it. It's just part of your whole pitching motion. So Matt Harvey tonight just was horrible against the Braves, just throwing 96. But
I didn't even see what happened. Harvey got shelled again tonight, huh?
Harvey let up 6 runs against the Braves tonight. Pretty much just got shelled.
The Mets need him. I mean, they need him. If he's going to just completely go into the tank, the Mets are not going to, the Mets may not be able. We told the Mets to come back from the ledge last show, right? We said, step back from the ledge. The Mets, it's still early. The Mets,
offensively, they have. Conforto is hot. Reyes has found his stroke. Look, Cespedes re-injures his hamstring. They rushed him back just like last year with the quad, rushing him back from the quad.
I blame the Mets more for that one than I do Syndergaard. I'll be honest.
So do I. Absolutely.
I think that's worse than Syndergaard. He shouldn't have been playing that game. That was stupid. I put that more on the Mets, their training staff, their management, whatever, than I do the Syndergaard situation. That was bad.
So, yeah, I mean, look, now they're pretty much looking at a pitching deficit because Matz is out. They had hoped from Seth Lugo. He's out. Gazelman has not been good yet. The underlying metrics indicate he's going to rebound, but still, look, DeGrom has been great with 3 straight double-digit strikeout games. So you got everything more from him.
He's always been the most reliable.
He has. I mean, he has been. He has been, no question.
And he'll be there. But the Mets right now, last place.
Back to missing Bartolo Colon, as crazy as it sounds, to have that reliable.
Watch him don a Mets jersey later on this year. Watch them call the Braves and say, "Hey, you want to give us back Bartolo?" But they're going to be calling. I'm sure they're calling teams right now to say, "Hey, we're putting out feelers. Who's available? Who might be available? What are you potentially looking for here?"
They need that. They need because otherwise this bullpen's going to get killed.
They will.
A couple of these guys.
It's not like the Yankee bullpen; they can't withstand it.
And Salas and Robles, it's just unsustainable pace right now for some of these guys, and it's just maybe it's getting by for now, but it's not setting up well for a couple months from now.
Well, you got to tell Harvey to find himself. I mean, this is all on Matt Harvey now. This is all about Matt Harvey because if he's going to pitch like he does tonight, the Mets don't have a chance. It's that simple. The 90 for 90 thing, whatever. I mean, right now Matt Harvey is a shell of what he used to be. It looks he just looks like he's lost out there. Again, I didn't see tonight, but just seeing his expressions, and his comments after the game on Thursday, tough spot, fine. But it's just almost like this was the same guy that had all this swagger, all this confidence. He went out on the mound. He knew he was going to dominate the other team. He knew that he had the upper hand the second he stepped on the mound. That's all gone. He looks like he is just a shell of what he used to be.
Well, he just doesn't have, his stuff is not the same. He doesn't have, he relied on blowing hitters away, and he can't do that now.
You have to learn to craft.
Post Tommy John, he's got it right. Post Tommy John, post-thoracic outlet syndrome. It's too as serious of surgeries as they come for an athlete, and so
it's either you have it or you don't. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, at this point,
he's got to learn to locate and be more of a. I don't want to say finesse pitcher, but he's got to hit. He can't just rely on blowing hitters away. He's got to hit his spots more effectively. Otherwise, he's going to continue to have these rough outings.
I almost liken it to Rick Vaughn in Major League 2 when Tom Berenger, challenged him remember. What was it? Jake, right? That was Tom Berenger's character's name.
Yep.
As the manager, he challenged Rick Vaughn. He said, "Hey, you had something last year that nobody else has. You have to get that back." Because Rick Vaughn was pitching terribly and whatever. So he challenged him. That's what Terry Collins has to do with Matt Harvey right now. Yes, he has to, his mechanics and hit his spots, all that, I agree. But he has to challenge him and say, "Hey, we're not going to win. We're not going to do anything if you're pitching like this. You have to get back what you used to have, and you have to get it back now. Otherwise, good. You're no good to this team." And it's that simple for me with Matt Harvey.
I can't see anybody. I can't see Terry Collins or anyone on the team actually saying that in that way. But somebody should.
Why not? I don't. It's. Look, I mean, you're managing
because the whole organization is soft. I mean, you're getting that from the comments from Sandy Alderson. Like he admitted that they didn't handle the injury situation with Syndergaard properly. Like they're not forceful. They're just. I don't know. They're just kind of soft, and that's.
Well, look, they babied
projecting onto a guy like Harvey right now.
Well, you know what, and Collins, look, he's not a guy that's gonna, he's a guy that can crack the whip if he needs to. He's, he has that tactician in him. We understand that, and apparently it's, the players love him. I mean, they love playing for him. They, you've never questioned whether or not the players will give a full effort playing for him, but. Some guys are sometimes going to need tough love. And, I think I've mentioned Al Arbor before, the former Islander coach, the Hall of Fame legendary Islander coach who, sir, you have to manage personalities. You have to manage people, too. You're not just coaching and, coming up with strategies to win games. You have to manage these athletes, these men, these personalities. And a big part of it is knowing when a guy needs a kick in the rear end, and when a guy needs a softer touch. I think Matt Harvey right now needs a kick in the rear end. You have to challenge him and say, hey, remember that pitcher that dominated the league a couple of years ago, that went out to the mound with that swagger, that cockiness every single time, that started the All-Star game, that said, that every single post game said, yeah, I'm the best. I know I'm the best, and I'm going to go out there and repeat what I just did tonight every single time I take the ball. That's all gone now. And you know what? If he doesn't get that back, this team will not win. And I told, again, Met fans last week, come back from the ledge. Well, you can step right back on if Matt Harvey continues to pitch like this. Because this will be a lost season for the Mets. And it's a shame because they still are a talented team. They still have pitching. Yes, Syndergaard's out. It's a bad injury. But they still have enough in that pitching staff that if they maximize the potential of those guys, if their guys start hitting, Randerson, Reyes has finally started to pick it up, like you said. They get Duda back, hopefully, within a few days, and then maybe the Mets can start to win some games here.
Lucas Duda going to be the savior, yeah. Yes, Lucas Duda. They finally get away from the division. Just a minute on this. We talked about Eric Thames being the MLB home run leader. He's not anymore.
Oh.
Aaron Judge, 2 more home runs tonight, 12 on the season.
I didn't even know.
Wow. I know. That's why I waited. I didn't want to tell you before the show because I just like getting your reaction.
No, really?
Aaron Judge now leads MLB in home runs at 12. Another 4 driven in. The Yankees rout Toronto 11-5. What is going on in the Bronx right now? This is just unbelievable.
I mean, maybe we're in unknown parts of metropolitan New York City. Hopefully, whatever they're drinking is going through the pipelines and extending to where we are.
God, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Judge
Eric Gardner.
I
said Eric Gardner.
Who are you thinking of?
I'm saying Eric Gardner.
Oh well.
Who am I thinking of? Who do you think I'm thinking of? Brett Gardner.
Brett Gardner. Okay. Well, I didn't know if you were thinking of
2 home runs tonight. Aaron Hicks has been hitting well for them. Matt Holliday's doing what he's supposed to do. This is a pretty unbelievable. Look, we knew that they could do some of this.
No Sanchez.
No Sanchez. Starlin Castro's actually done fairly well. I mean, it's pretty. It's been pretty unbelievable. Actually, I don't think anybody expected them to hit really like this.
I mean, now, good things are happening in the Bronx.
Severino was doing really well until last night. He finally had a bad start. It's okay to have a bad start. It's going to happen. Pineda's still been pretty good. Tanaka has pretty much righted the ship. So, I mean, look, we know their bullpen's going to be good. So, how long they can't keep hitting like this?
For Toronto, Matt Latos is terrible. Yeah, well, I mean, they're not going to. I mean, look, Ed Judge is going to come back to earth. You know that they're going to figure him out. Excuse me, and that they're going to learn how to at least put the ball where he can't launch it 450 feet. I mean, again, you throw him a fastball that he runs into, that thing's going a mile. So,
yeah, I think he has the hardest hit home run in the exit velocity era.
Yes, the exit velocity.
I don't know when the Statcast, how far it goes back. It doesn't go back 15 years, but he has the hardest home run recorded in the last 5 years or something now.
I don't doubt it. I mean, that ball again.
Again, this is a team. Look, they're not going to sustain the offense.
No,
it's a question of what's the baseline pitching, what's the baseline hitting. We for starting pitching and for hitting, they still don't know. But and this is a transition. Just to talk about Fenway briefly, on Sunday night, the game that they hosted the Cubs, the Yankees and the Orioles were tied for first, and that there's a certain tiebreaker to determine who would actually be the division winner if there's a tie.
Yep.
But Fenway puts the standings on the
Green Monster,
the Green Monster. And so their rule for Fenway is if the Yankees are tied with someone for first, the Yankees are always just second. They go second automatically. So they were showing that, and just an unfortunate series of stories coming from Fenway last night with Adam Jones, the star center fielder for Baltimore, hearing somebody in the stands calling, yelling racial epithets. And look, Do we know if this was just one isolated person?
Apparently it wasn't.
That, look, it's easy to judge if it's just one person, and you're like, you could judge the whole town because one idiot who could, you have people walking the streets in any metropolitan city who would say something like this. Just happened to be this person, but apparently it wasn't just one person. I don't know, but it's just just kind of sucks.
It's a history. It's a history in Boston, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. It's been documented. Bill Russell called the city of Boston a flea market of racism. That's an exact quote from Bill Russell, the legendary Hall of Fame basketball player, of course, who played for the Celtics for many years and won 11 championships there. And I actually remember an incident in 2012 when Joel Ward, who's a black player in the NHL, played for the Washington Capitals at the time. He scored an overtime goal in Game 7 in the first round to beat Boston. This was in Boston, and the very
what team was Joel Ward on?
Washington Capitals. Okay. He played for the Capitals at the time, scored a series-ending overtime goal in Game 7, and the Boston fans then began a barrage of racial epithets on social media right after the game was over. And I remember that very vividly because I remember watching the game, watching the goal, and hearing about this immediately after. It was just, disgusting. And I'll be honest, I, as a Yankee fan, as a New York sports fan, I really don't like Boston sports fans. I think they're pompous. I think they're arrogant. I think they're entitled. I think it's a microcosm of that whole city and that kind of insulated culture. And I'll be honest, it's made worse. Now, they've won a ton over the last 15 years. Every team has won at least one. We know the Pats. We know the Red Sox have won multiple. But Bill Simmons, who, we know what kind of personality he is now in sports media landscape, but he made things worse by being like the unofficial spokesman for Boston sports fans, whose writing reflected the attitude of, oh, you just don't get it if you're not one of us. If you're not a Boston sports fan, you just can't understand us. You just don't get it. It was that attitude that you see in almost every Boston sports, just in the group as a whole. And I've always felt this way. I would always want to yell at a Boston Red Sox fan that I see like in a New York sports bar. Name one Red Sox player before 2003. Oh, you can't? Yeah, that's what I thought. I always want to do that. And I remember yelling that a few times, actually. I was a little had a few beverages. And I remember it was one particular time I think when the Red Sox were in the playoffs in 2007, I started yelling it while after Manny Ramirez had like a game-winning home run in the playoffs or whatever, and it was a big cheer from Boston sports fans, and I was just like, what the hell is this? So anyway, but it was just, it's appalling what we heard yesterday from Fenway. Adam Jones, doesn't deserve any of that, and you heard the anger in the quotes that he gave yesterday during an interview after the game. And I guess they gave him a standing ovation today, the Red Sox Nation, which I'm sure rang very hollow for Adam Jones and just like an empty gesture. So, it's a shame. It's terrible. It's a shame. And, it's still an epidemic.
It lives. It lives. It lives in our society. That's just a fact. So, it's not like you or I can really do anything about it. It's just it's unfortunate.
No.
I'm gonna struggle. I kind of skipped, and this is just a transition from something crappy to something funny. The hipster moment of Zenith. You've been handling these pretty well.
Take it back away.
To the Mets. All right, I will take it away. So
take it away.
It's just. So we talked about Noah Syndergaard and his injury. Well, before his injury and even after his injury, the Mets have been promoting a certain event at the stadium taking place on I think it's May 6th. Right? It's this weekend. I think it's May 6th. I'm not 100% certain, but it's Noah Syndergaard Hat Hair Day. So they're just taking great lengths to promote this event for a player who's now injured for 2 months.
Well, please tell us, what is Hat Hair Day?
Of course, 2 weeks later on May 20th is David Wright starting lineup giveaway day.
Okay, get to the stadium.
So pile on. And maybe 2 weeks after will be Bartolo Colon Wrestling Buddy Day.
Let's say Gray Beard Day. Just for men here.
God.
But what is this Hat Hair Day? Please tell us what that is.
No, so you're gonna get a Mets hat, and it's
All
gonna
right.
have like the big light blonde mullet in the back that emanates from Noah Syndergaard's head.
So you're getting a Mets hat with fake hair coming out the back, with
yes,
polyester hair coming out the back. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes. and the player's injured for 2 months.
So if you're bald and you're a Mets fan, don't miss out, Mets fans. Get to the ballpark this weekend, and don't try it out. Hitting on a girl like at McFadden's at Citi Field, because they'll see right through it. So make sure that you take your hat with you to like a local bar, and that they'll see the flowing locks and go, "Oh, look at how handsome this guy is in his Mets hat and his flowing locks."
You better be sure to get to the game very early, because it's only to the first 15,000 fans, right. And I'm sure fans are just dying to get into the stadium as soon as possible to watch the game. Look, we kind of joked about the NBA playoffs at the beginning. I don't really think there's much more to say at all. So we kind of summarized it in about 2 sentences at the beginning. I really don't have much else to add.
I mean, just the ridiculous amount of 3-pointers that are being taken, which I've kind of noticed. 50 for Houston last night. San Antonio, oh man. Does LaMarcus Aldridge have a pulse? 4 points and 6 rebounds in game 1 in that series. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think I think it's inevitable. We know who's going to be in the finals, most likely. I don't think anybody's knocking off Golden State in the West, or the amazing Washington Wizards in the East. Who's going to knock off the Washington Wizards? I mean, come on. I mean, what, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the LeBrons? Give me a break. But I like the Spurs with Duncan, and I still do it. They're an easy team to root for. I love Kawhi Leonard. He's one of the most underrated players on the planet in any sport. He's such a
they're easy to root for, considering they're the team that pretty much started the trend of resting players.
Yes, well, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. That's and I don't like Popovich. Which
is your favorite?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Popovich just because he's a jerk. I mean, he's a great coach. He's done a phenomenal job with that team, but he's a jerk. And I don't like, of course, the whole resting players concept. That's true. That's correct. But Kawhi Leonard is one of the most underrated players in any sport in the planet, and just such an unassuming superstar. I mean, his mantra is, I'm going to go out, I'm going to play as hard as I can, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to help my team win, and that's it. I don't have to, I don't have to self-aggrandize or be an arrogant jerk like some other superstars in the league. So just want to get that out there. San Antonio, I think, will still win that series. If I had to make a prediction, I still say that they win, and they'll probably then lose to Golden State. So, all right, next. Anything else to add about the NBA playoffs? Covered. All right, so I guess with that, after the hipster moment of Zenith and the little brief soliloquy on the NBA playoffs, that will take us to the final segment of the week. Everybody's favorite, yours and mine. It is, of course, known as the hipster beer of the week. And take it away, Mr.
At some point, you think we'd run out of beers to talk about, but no.
Never.
So, Barrier Brewing Company is located in Oceanside, New York. For those unaware, Nassau County, South Shore, close to the Queens border.
Right.
And a little brewery that we paid a visit to, was engaged, and his fiance had a bridal shower. I had to kill a couple hours while my wife attended the baby shower. Not the baby shower. Oh God, the bridal shower. Baby shower is probably not too far away. So what else but go to the closest brewery in town, which happened to have a double release that weekend. So this beer is called Tanto, and it is a American style IPA brewed with ID 007, which apparently is one type of hop, Mutica, Citra, and Chinook. So there it is, the hipster beer of the week. Very exciting.
Chinook, huh?
You can find it on tap.
I don't think we've talked about that ingredient on H&L.
Or ID 007. You could find Tanto on tap in restaurants and bars in the New York City area. They did release cans of it. Good luck finding cans in stores. your best bet is you got to go to the brewery itself to get it if they still have it, or you find it on draft. Barrier is not at the same level as some of these other breweries. Look, Other Half is at its own level. They're like the Patriots of the NFL. There's just nobody in New York City that comes close.
Stratosphere of beers.
They are. There's nobody else that comes close to them. Then you have a bunch of others that are kind of together. We've gone through most of these in prior shows. You have the Interborough and Single Cut and LIC Beer Project. Those are Finback, I would say, is in that. Barrier is kind of they're trying to be part of that group, but you know what? Their beer is just not quite up to the same standard. They're not quite there. They have some work to do.
They're striving. They have something to aspire to.
They are striving. I mean, a nice little brewery. When they had the music playing, dogs and kids walking around or whatever. So it's family friendly and all that.
All right. Some H's and their baby H's walking around. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks for listening as always. Rate us on iTunes. And yes, thank you. Yes, Hip and Lip. Yes.
All right. See you next time. Break it all down for you. All right. Bye.